So let me just begin with a note of optimism. You're going to get to pick the next president, not a bunch of politicians driven by sour grapes. And I don't say that lightly. I didn't vote for President Trump. I voted for somebody I wouldn't know if they walked in the door. But I accepted the fact that he won. That's been hard for a lot of people. I supported the Mueller investigation. I had Democratic colleagues come to me and say, we're afraid he's going to fire Mueller. Will you stand with us to make sure Mueller can complete his investigation? And I did. 2 years, $32 million, FBI agents, subpoenas, you name it. The verdict is in. What did we find? Nothing. I thought that would be it. But it's never enough when it comes to Trump. This sham process is the low point in the Senate for me. If you think you've done the country a good service by legitimizing this impeachment process, what you have done is unleash the partisan forces of hell. This is sour grapes. They impeached the President of the United States in 78 days. You could not get a parking ticket if you contested it in 78 days. They gave out souvenir pins when it was over. If you can't see through that, your hatred of Donald Trump has blinded you to the obvious. This is not about protecting the country. This is about destroying the president. There are no rules when it comes to Donald Trump. Everybody in America can confront the witnesses against them except Donald Trump. Everybody in America can call witnesses on their behalf except President Trump. Everybody in America can introduce evidence except for President Trump. He's not above the law, but you put him below the law. In the process of impeaching this president, you've made it almost impossible for future presidents to do their job. In 78 days, you took due process, as we've come to know it in America, and threw it in the garbage can. This is the first impeachment in the history of the country driven by politicians. The Nixon impeachment had outside counsel, Watergate prosecutors. The Clinton impeachment had Ken Starr, who looked at President Clinton for years before he brought it to Congress. The Mueller investigation went on for 2 years. I trusted Bob Mueller, and when he rendered his verdict, it broke your heart, and you can't let it go. The only way this is going to end permanently is for the president to get reelected, and he will. So as to abuse of Congress, it is a wholesale assault on the presidency. It is abandoning every sense of fairness that every American has come to expect in their own lives. It's driven by blind partisanship and hatred of the man himself. And they wanted to do it in 78 days. Why? Because they wanted to impeach him before the election. I am not making this up. They said that. The reason the president never was allowed to go to court and challenge the subpoenas that were never issued is because the House managers understood it might take time. President Clinton and President Nixon were allowed to go to Article III court and contest the House's action. That was denied this president because it would get in the way of impeaching him before the election. And you send this crap over here, and you're okay with it, my Democratic colleagues. You're okay with the idea that the president was denied his day in court, and you were going to rule on executive privilege as a political body. You're willing to deal out the Article III courts because you hate Trump that much. What you've done is you've weakened the institution of the presidency. And be careful what you wish for, because it's going to come back your way. So abuse of Congress should be entitled abuse of power by the Congress. If you think Adam Schiff is trying to get to the truth, I got a bridge I want to sell you. These people hate Trump's guts. They rammed it through the House in a way you couldn't get a parking ticket, and they achieved their goal of impeaching him before the election. Well, the Senate's going to achieve its goal of acquitting him in February. And the American people are going to get to decide in November who they want to be their president. So acquittal will happen in about 2 hours. Exoneration comes when President Trump gets reelected, because the people of the United States are fed up with this crap. But the damage you have done will be long-lasting. Abuse of power. You're impeaching the President of the United States for suspending foreign aid for a short period of time that they eventually received ahead of schedule to leverage an investigation that never happened. You're going to remove the President of the United States for suspending foreign aid to leverage an investigation of a political opponent that never occurred. The Ukrainians did not know the suspension until September. They didn't feel any pressure. And if you're okay with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden doing what they did, it says more about you than it does anything else. The point of the abuse of power article is that you've made it almost impossible now for any president to pick up the phone if all of us can assume the worst and impeach somebody based on a subjective standard. He was talking about corruption in the Ukraine with a past president. And the Biden's conduct in the Ukraine undercut our ability to effectively deal with corruption by allowing his son to receive $3 million from the most corrupt gas company in the Ukraine. Can you imagine how the Ukrainian parliament must have felt to be lectured by Joe Biden about ending sweetheart deals? What you have done is impeach the President of the United States and willing to remove him because he suspended foreign aid for 40 days to leverage an investigation that never occurred. And to my good friend Dick Durbin, Donald Trump has done more to help the Ukrainian people than Barack Obama did in his entire 8 years. If you're looking for somebody to help the Ukrainian people fight the Russians, how about giving them some weapons? This is a sham. This is a farce. This is disgusting. This is an injustice to President Trump as a person. It's a threat to the office. It will end soon. It's going to be an overwhelming rejection of both articles. We're going to pick up the pieces and try to go forward. But I can say this without any hesitation. I worry about the future of the presidency after what's happened here. Ladies and gentlemen, you will come to regret this whole process. And to those who have these pens, I hope you will understand history will judge those pens as a souvenir of shame.